Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I have an exciting video lined up for you all. In this video we'll be taking a closer look at what the woodlice have been devouring and the unexpected challenges we encountered along the way. From the initial nibbling on the moss to the surprising cannibalism incidents, we'll explore the factors that contribute to these behaviors and discuss possible solutions. Alright, let's start by discussing the intriguing feeding habits of our woodlice. What have they been munching on? Stay tuned to find out. Initially, the moss in the foreground was heavily nibbled on, and it looked like this was going to be consumed just like in the old terrarium. After some time, the woodlice left it alone and used it as a hiding place and shelter instead. Common haircap moss is consistently being nibbled on, especially this small standalone stalk. For a while it seemed like the woodlice were sparing it. However, on the 58th day it was finally eaten up, and only a stump remains. In the background where it is denser, you can also see the woodlice nibbling on it, but all the stalks are still alive. I have caught them several times nibbling on a leaf or two. The moss in the foreground has recovered so well and seems to have taken root, as longer stalks are sprouting from the existing ones. The moss appears to be thriving. This is mainly due to the humid conditions, as the soil remains constantly moist, providing an optimal environment for the various mosses. I will explain in the course of the video the areas where moisture is not as good. Another challenge was fungal infestation due to high moisture in the soil and in the air. That's why I decided to ventilate multiple times to allow the moisture to escape and counteract mold growth and excessive humidity. The next time I create another terrarium with similar conditions, I will moisten it less at the beginning and be more conscious with watering during the phase when the woodlice or other inhabitants are not yet present, to avoid having too much moisture again. I didn't even have to re-moisten it after all the initial watering because I added too much at once. Now we have to talk about cannibalism, my biggest problem yet. I didn't anticipate it, but it happened a few times. Initially, it remained only an attempt and the woodlice was able to escape. There are several causes of cannibalism. It could be due to stress, caused by relocation or a lack of hiding places. However, I ruled these out as there are more than enough hiding places, and the first incident occurred 5 days after the move, by which time the stress should have subsided. Another reason could be reproductive behavior. Male woodlice can sometimes eat female conspecifics, especially after mating. This behavior is a form of reproductive strategy that increases the male's chances of survival and the transmission of its genes. The most likely cause would have been food shortage. I received a tip from the community that woodlice need a source of protein. Based on this recommendation, I chose mealworms. At first it seemed like the woodlice were accepting them well. However, after a few days they started to molt without a significant portion of the mealworm being consumed. I can imagine that the surface of the dried mealworms is not suitable for the woodlice mouth parts, which is why I decided to crush the mealworms. This seems to work better but not optimally. Therefore, I recommend opting for dried shrimp instead. According to experienced individuals' feedback, they are much better accepted. Despite using mealworms, the problem hasn't been completely resolved yet. A few days later, cannibalism occurred again, but thankfully not since then. The combination of the aforementioned causes is overpopulation. When there are too many woodlice in the terrarium, all the factors come together. Insufficient hiding places and food in proportion to the number of woodlice, leading to stress and cannibalism. To prevent this, one should regularly observe these aspects in the terrarium and, if in doubt, provide more food and hiding places. And there's a tip. You can never have too many hiding places. The only downside to having too many hiding places is that you will see the woodlice less frequently. But the highest priority should always be the well-being of the animals, and only after that your entertainment and interests. In addition to cannibalism, I also found another dead body. However, this one was not due to cannibalism, but most likely due to natural causes. I'm not sure of the exact reason. What surprises me though is that despite the cannibalism, the body was not consumed but rather slowly molded. To talk about something positive again, I will share my experience with the rock pile in the terrarium. I'm pleasantly surprised that integrating stones into the terrarium was a very good decision. The woodlice have used the stones as hiding spots, as they create optimal gaps in which the woodlice seem to feel very comfortable. To my surprise, individual woodlice have even stayed directly on the stones without hiding. My assumption is that the woodlice particularly enjoyed using the stones as resting places because the stones keep them away from the damp ground, giving the woodlice a good opportunity to escape moisture whenever they want, as the stones do not absorb moisture. So my recommendation: provide the woodlice with a pile of stones as an additional hiding and resting place. This way they can ultimately choose where to stay, and there will be a large selection available. The actual shelter was used very frequently, although the tunnel entrance didn't work at all since they don't let anyone dictate where they enter the shelter. However, since some light still enters the shelter depending on the time of day, the woodlice have decided to build a new hiding spot behind the eggshell, where they can stay undisturbed. Strangely enough, one woodlouse got stuck at the surface of the eggshell and wriggled around for a short time. But with some effort, the woodlice managed to free itself. To my delight, moss has also started growing inside the shelter. Just imagine how cool it would be if the entire shelter were covered in moss. But unfortunately, that won't happen because one day a woodlouse cut down the moss like a tree. I'm also very happy with the leaf pile, which consists of oak leaves. Besides the pile of stones, the pile of leaves is the second dry place in the terrarium and thus provide a good hiding place, but also an optimal source of food, and it is very well accepted by the woodlice. Now here, where I edit the video, I filled out the pile already this third time because it is eaten up so quickly. Besides oak leaves, beech leaves are equally good. Since woodlice have a high calcium requirement due to their body structure, I decided to sprinkle some eggshell powder in the terrarium. In such a fine texture, the woodlice can easily consume it and the remaining powder will spread throughout the terrarium. There's a woodlouse hiding there that just took a piece of it into its hiding spot. Oh, I didn't mean to sprinkle it on you. To prepare the woodlice for the upcoming experiments, I started with something simple. Even though it's not particularly interesting, I'm still curious about the woodlice reaction to lettuce. After a very short time, the first hungry resident came by and started nibbling on the lettuce leaf. The woodlouse didn't stop eating at all. Every time I checked, it was there, munching from the same corner. I could also observe the progress. The next morning, the lettuce leaf was almost completely eaten. Thank you for watching and joining me. Remember, providing enough hiding spots, such as rock pile, and offering various food options like dried shrimp can help prevent cannibalism among the inhabitants. Don't forget to occasionally add some fresh greens like lettuce as well. I'd love to hear about your experiences with rock piles and lettuce leaves in your terrariums, so feel free to share it in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more exciting terrarium adventures. Stay tuned for future updates, and I'll see you next time.